GM everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is Tuesday, the 31st of December 2024. It's the last day of 2024. Just wanted to say a big thanks if you are subscribed to the channel, if you have been watching my videos for the last few sort of weeks or months or whenever you joined. It's great to have you here, and I hope you continue to do so going into 2025. So let's jump straight into it and take a look at Bitcoin. We can see Bitcoin is on a nice bounce today, up a couple of percent so far. I was actually looking at this path a little earlier, and I'm thinking to myself, look, we've probably already seen this bounce play out. We're probably more so in this stage right now where we're starting to see a bounce potentially up to 95, 96,000. And then I think we will take one more retest. Potentially the retest of the low comes in over the next week. I think it will probably come in within the first 10 days of January, early part of January. And then from there, I'm expecting into the middle of the month, Bitcoin to start to come up and looking to challenge all-time highs again, probably later on in the month. And what we might see is we might see a bit more of a move like this back to 108,000, little bit of consolidation into January or into the end of January or into early February, and then the breakout actually happening in February. I don't expect this market to hang around too long, but it could be that we do spend a month or two just building out some structure. Obviously, if Bitcoin was to get up to 108,000 or close to it again and start to consolidate and move sideways, this would be bullish for altcoins. Likely, we would see Ethereum start to make its move, Solana get back to all-time highs, and the rest of the altcoin space really start to break out. So I'm open to that idea that Bitcoin might take a little bit of a breather over the next month or two. But for now, obviously, what we really want to see is we want to see Bitcoin sort of starting to dig in here, showing a bit of strength, and obviously defending these lows around the 90,000 mark. I'm still open to the fact that we could come lower. We could flush out the liquidity below these lows. Market makers might take us down, take out any stops that are below these lows from longs, totally get a full flush out of the market, and then run us higher. So that is something I'm on watch for. Obviously, we might not do that. It depends, but I'm not expecting us to go into a longer term move sort of down to much lower levels and spend a large amount of time at lower prices than we are currently. I do think ultimately this is a great buying opportunity within this range. Like I've talked about already, I've talked about the fact that I'm looking to buy Bitcoin or add to Bitcoin longs really within this range here. Anything sort of below 92,000 down to around about 86,000, I think is going to be really good value. I'm not expecting prices to go much lower than that. I'd say absolute worst case scenario would be down here around about sort of 79 to 80,000 on price. But I think that's fairly unlikely. I think anybody waiting for dips down further down below 85k will likely get front run. Obviously, this is a bull market. It's important to remember that the overall macro trends are still up. Yes, there is uncertainty in the market. Yes, we are getting worried about potentially the Fed getting more hawkish, inflation resurfacing, uh, talks recently now about a recession coming. I mean, there's lots of things to be nervous about, and there's lots of uncertainty. But obviously, markets do like to climb the wall of worry, and it is important. Bull markets do indeed, and it's important to remember that ultimately we are in a bull market, and we should be expecting higher prices based on where we are in terms of the cycle over the next 3 to 6 months, potentially as far out as into the end of 2025 or into the last quarter of 2025. So Bitcoin, like I say, looking fairly good to me where we are here. I'm not necessarily sort of jumping into longs myself here. I'm just waiting to see if we do come down early next month and make some sort of retest of the current low or go a bit lower. That will be the trigger for me to really start to go in sort of heavy and get back to being fully positioned And just to support us making this bounce to around sort of 95, 96,000, we've got a bunch of liquidations currently sat there just above current prices. So I do think we can squeeze a bit higher, probably up to as high as 96,000 on this bounce. Maybe into year end, we sort of see that move up to about 96 to kind of close the month, close the year, and then potentially we could be looking at a little bit of downsides in early January. That is still uh, the most probable path for me in terms of where the markets go from here. Ethereum also seen a bit of an uptick today. So again, I'd be thinking that Ethereum at some point might come down to around 3,100 again, sort of to retest that low, or at least down a little bit closer to that low to fill in some of this wick, potentially as low as 3,000, or the absolute lowest I think will be around about 2,800. Anywhere down here, sort of flushing out these lows, I think would be really, really healthy for Ethereum, just in terms of resetting the market fully and for us to see some really nice upside price action from there. So I'm still thinking Ethereum looks really good as a long. For me, it's one of those situations where I'm just waiting, as with Bitcoin, to see if things do come down further, do go a bit lower. I'm already long. I'll be looking to add to longs at 3,100 on a retest, at 3,000, at 2,800. These are all areas I'd be looking to add to longs, with really invalidation points coming really below this ascending trend line. I think anything below 2,600, if we started to come back into this range, will start to look really, really bearish for Ethereum. So I'm expecting that this area does not get traded below, and that's coming in around about 2,800. So again, those are the levels I'm looking at on Bitcoin. Ethereum, Solana as well is holding this trend line that we've been talking about. So it's positive to see Solana having a bounce here today. I'd really like to see it get back above $200 to be a bit more confident in taking Solana long positions, or should I say larger long positions. I am also long Solana here, but not quite as heavily as I am on Ethereum. And really, I would say the breakout of this descending trend line would then confirm the bullishness coming back into Solana. So Solana hanging on. Potentially, we do get one more dip down towards this trend line at $180. Potentially, we could come down a little lower if it wanted to flush out liquidity below this level down to 168, 166, where we've got this support coming in. Obviously, you might turn around and say, well, we've already had that flush. So potentially Solana has led us on the way down. It's really outperformed so far this bull cycle. Does Solana start to lead us on the way up? Do we see drops in Bitcoin and Ethereum early next month? But does Solana sort of hold and actually put in a higher low, as opposed to potentially Bitcoin and Ethereum could put in a slightly lower low? Who knows? I'm still thinking Ethereum is going to be the most bullish asset, but obviously Solana, as you know, the sort of breakthrough sort of altcoin this cycle, breaking through and sort of getting up there into sort of the major category alongside Bitcoin and Ethereum. Is this cycle going to replicate for Solana what Ethereum did in the last cycle? So can we expect actually Solana to see the most explosive moves in Q1 of 2025? Potentially, that's something I am open to. So obviously Solana is going to be one to watch, but I'm still very bullish on it here. And just looking at Pepe showing some strength. Then actually, it's on sort of its highest prices that it's seen since the sell-off in the middle of December. So the highest prices obviously been traded at for the last 10 or so days, breaking out of its consolidation. So this is a really bullish sign for altcoins, bullish for meme coins. If we just sort of go from there and look at Bitcoin dominance, we can see Bitcoin dominance is on a bit of a bounce today, but we are flirting with this level that I've said. If Bitcoin gets below and holds under this level, coming in at 58%, then it will signal, I think, more of a rotation into altcoins. So potentially this drop does get delayed a bit. We'll just move that out slightly, and we'll wait and see what happens. I'm thinking this could get delayed until a little bit sort of later in January. I think it's likely, whilst Bitcoin is pulling back and in the low 90,000 as a range, I don't expect too much to happen in terms of altcoins. But I, of course, am expecting this move to happen over Q1 of 2025. I really think altcoins are poised to take off. And obviously, we looked at yesterday at it was the yearly, so the 12-month chart. If I just take drawings off and make this a little bit easier to view, but we looked at the 12 months chart on Bitcoin dominance and we just said, we have a sort of big red candle during the bull market year, or should we say, like the final year of the bull market, three up candles, three green candles, one big candle. Again, final year of the bull run, three green candles. And are we going to see this big red candle on Bitcoin dominance, which is going to send all of the altcoins to Valhalla and beyond next year? I think this is what a lot of us are hoping for. So let's see if it does come true and if the pattern does continue to repeat itself. I wouldn't bet against it. Of course, this 4-year cycle has been true from the moment I've got into crypto. I started to think it probably wasn't going to hold true in the last cycle. I was thinking we might see a shorter cycle, we might see an extended cycle. Things can't quite happen how they did, surely, yet again. But it happened that way again, and I think it's very sort of unadvisable to bet against what is such a powerful historic pattern in the crypto market. So, yes, I am expecting something like that. Probably does happen. Of course, if we just come back here to where we were, like I say, in the short term, I'm thinking maybe some shop, maybe Bitcoin spikes a little bit higher if it does see a little bit of sell pressure in it as altcoins come down for retests and so forth. But I am thinking anything up to about 60% or 59.9% is just going to be a lower high for this. And potentially we could get some sort of trend line on there as long as we're above this trend line, below this trend line, or as long as we're below 60% on Bitcoin dominance. It's all just really noise. Bitcoin dominance is going to put in a lower high, and then potentially we're going to get a bigger alt season, which should coincide with Ethereum taking off, Solana taking off, and some of those trade ideas playing out in Q1 of 2025. So on to the dollar then, and we can see dollar just really consolidating. I think it probably at some point does make another pop up to this 618 Fibonacci retracement here. Obviously, we've got the golden pocket. So this is a level that I'll be expecting some sort of potential rejection to come in on the dollar. Let's put in a bit of a zone there. So yes, potentially around about this 109 might be some sort of resistance, especially if the market is starting to say, well, the Fed, now that they've turned a bit more hawkish at the last FOMC, traders now look ahead to what's going to happen over the next quarter, over the next few meetings. Surely they won't go from being, more hawkish to from hawkish to even more hawkish, especially when there's still some concerns around recession and the Fed have pretty much set the expectation now for two rate cuts next year, which is I think a fairly low sort of level for the year if you look at where rates currently are. And yeah, I just feel that potentially a top for the dollar is not as far away as some people might think. I know obviously it's been running on the Trump election result and the tariffs coming in, but we're starting to see things slow down a little bit. So let's see where we go. These trends can obviously go on for a lot longer than many people expect. But yeah, obviously it still is in an uptrend for now until it isn't. So I think we need to just be realistic and say this is what it is, and let's see where things go over the next few months. But I'm thinking we might get some sort of reaction, especially if the Fed do decide to go a little bit dovish again next year. Nasdaq still up close to all-time highs. It's been pulling back a bit over the last week. So if we just look at a daily on a little bit of a bounce today, held its zero point 0.5 level in terms of Fibonacci from yesterday. So let's see if the Nasdaq can push on a little bit higher over the next few days. Like I've said, Really, we need to see a strong stock market to have a strong crypto market. I'm not too sure if this trend's a bit too aggressive, but I'm not too sure if any of these sort of trend lines on here might be sort of worth drawing in. We could do something like that, and I just want to see whether I find channels are fairly good. Let me see if I can get a channel on here on the Nasdaq. So if we connect these highs, let's copy this over and take that low. I think on the Nasdaq, we can draw this channel for now. Obviously, we want to see another touch on the downside to sort of confirm this channel. But as long as the Nasdaq stays within this price range, it's going to keep on trending up, and I'd be fairly bullish that come sort of the end of January, sort of February, we will see new all-time highs on the Nasdaq. And similar for the S&P, really following a similar path. We can draw a similar parallel channel as well on the S&P. So doing something like this, near enough lines up. Not quite, but yeah, I'm thinking something like this on the S&P. Obviously, the Nasdaq a little bit of a greater slope on there, but yeah, let's see what happens on stocks. Like I say, I think come the end of January they'll be testing all-time highs again, and Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets will be pretty close behind. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for watching. Like I say, New Year 2025 coming tomorrow. So I will be back tomorrow with another update. And yes, I'll be probably coming out with a few predictions. I'll be looking at some of my best picks for 2025 going into the new year as well. So yeah, plenty of content to come your way over the next few weeks and months. Do subscribe so you don't miss out if you're new to the channel, and hopefully if you've enjoyed the content, smash the like. And yes, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful evening tonight if you're celebrating the new year. And yes, I'll see you all again on the next one. GM, GM, GM.